In 1991, a GMC pickup truck beat a Ferrari in a straight-line test. Not barely. By a full car length, the pickup weighed 500 pounds more, had a smaller engine, and couldn't legally carry a single passenger in the back. So how does a truck like that beat a Ferrari? And why did General Motors kill it? In the fall of 1991, a black pickup truck pulled into the car and driver test facility in Michigan. The test crew already had a Ferrari 348 on the track. They had done this before, lining up the best Italian engineering against the best American performance cars, Corvettes, Vipers, the vehicles that were supposed to win these tests. The crew looked at the pickup. Nobody said anything. That test result would end up in automotive history books. But to understand how a GMC truck got to that track, you have to go back 2 years and to a division of General Motors that had no business building what it was about to build. In 1989, GMC made trucks. Full stop. Not performance vehicles, not enthusiast cars. Trucks. The kind of contractor throws lumber in on a Tuesday morning and does not think about again until the check engine light comes on somewhere outside Tulsa, Oklahoma. The performance world belonged to other people entirely. Ferrari was winning comparison tests in automotive magazines across the country. Porsche was dominating road course evaluations. The Corvette ZR1 had just launched out of the Bowling Green, Kentucky assembly plant, and the automotive press called it the greatest American performance car ever produced. Nobody was looking at the GMC truck division. Nobody expected anything from them. But inside a GM engineering facility in Michigan, a small group of engineers had been sitting with a question for 2 years that nobody had asked them to answer. They had access to hardware that had never been combined before, and they were about to do something their own executives had told them to stop. The hardware sitting in General Motors' parts catalog was not exotic. That was the point. The engine was a 4.3-liter V6 that General Motors had been putting in trucks for years. Reliable, proven, completely unremarkable on paper. But this group of engineers knew something about that engine that the truck buyers filling out order forms at dealerships across America did not. With a Garrett turbocharger bolted to it, that V6 produced 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. Peak torque arrived almost instantly off idle, not at high revs like a sports car engine that needs time to build. Right now, from a standing start. That characteristic would matter more than anyone outside the team understood yet. The second piece was an all-wheel drive system. General Motors had developed it for the Pontiac division. It had never been installed in a truck. The engineers looked at it and saw something the Pontiac engineers had not been thinking about. What happens when you put 350 pound-feet of torque through all 4 wheels simultaneously from a dead stop on a public road? No wheel spin, no delay, just forward traction, all of it immediately. They ran the numbers, then they ran them again. The third piece was the chassis. Strip a GMC Sonoma of its payload hardware, its towing equipment, its bed liner, and tie-down rails, and you have a vehicle that weighs considerably less than the truck a contractor drives to a job site. The engineers did exactly that. The Syclone carried no payload rating. It could not tow. It had a cargo bed that was sealed shut and cosmetic only. As a truck, it was essentially useless. As a performance vehicle, it was something else entirely. General Motors leadership in the Renaissance Center offices in downtown Detroit did not share the team's enthusiasm. The feedback from above was consistent. GMC builds trucks. This is not a truck. Stop spending time on it. The project survived anyway, pushed forward on the conviction of a small group of engineers who kept running the same test numbers and kept getting the same answer. When the Syclone finally reached the car and driver test facility in the summer of 1991, the result took 11 seconds to produce. Independent testing recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in as little as 4.3 seconds. That was faster than the Ferrari 348 sitting 20 feet away, faster than the Porsche 911 Turbo that year, faster than the Corvette ZR1 that had launched out of Bowling Green 12 months earlier to universal acclaim. A pickup truck that could not carry a bag of mulch in its sealed cosmetic bed had just beaten every performance car America and Europe had to offer in a straight-line acceleration test. Car and driver published the result. The automotive world briefly lost its mind. Dealers across the country started getting phone calls about a truck most of them had never seen on a lot. General Motors built 2,995 of them, one model year, 1991 only, and then, with no press release, no announcement, and no explanation offered to the dealers still fielding phone calls, the Syclone was gone. The engineers who had fought 2 years to build it found out the same way everyone else did. It simply stopped appearing in the production schedule. Nobody at the Renaissance Center in Detroit called to explain why. Nobody sent a memo. The project that had beaten Ferrari, that had embarrassed the Corvette division, that had put a GMC badge on the fastest accelerating production vehicle in America, was over. The question was never why GM killed it. That answer is complicated, and we will get to it. The question that the engineers in Michigan sat with for years afterward was simpler. GM had proof. Right there in the car and driver data, proof that a truck division nobody had ever taken seriously had just built something nobody else in the world could match, and they walked away from it anyway. The answer that GM gave when pressed in the years that followed came down to two things: money and timing. Building the Syclone was expensive. The turbocharged engine required hand assembly steps that the standard truck production line at the Shreveport, Louisiana plant was not designed to handle. The all-wheel drive system added cost and complexity that a truck buyer paying contractor prices was never going to absorb. GMC had priced the Syclone at just under $26,000 in 1991. That was Corvette territory. Dealers who sold Syclones sold them fast, but the volume was never going to be there at that price point in a truck segment that ran on fleet contracts and commercial buyers. And then the recession hit. The American economy in late 1991 and into 1992 was contracting. GMC was bleeding money across multiple divisions. The Renaissance Center was not a place where low-volume passion projects survived budget reviews. The Syclone had proven its point. It had made its headlines. From a purely financial perspective, the argument for continuing was thin. But the engineers in Michigan knew something the accountants in Detroit did not fully appreciate. The Syclone had not just won a drag race. It had proven that the GMC truck platform was capable of something nobody had credited it with. The same technology, the turbocharged V6, the all-wheel drive system, the stripped performance chassis could have gone somewhere. A second generation with a better production efficiency, a Syclone that cost less to build and reached more buyers, a truck performance division that gave GMC an identity beyond lumber and fleet contracts. None of that happened. The Typhoon came out in 1992, an SUV variant built on the same platform, and lasted 1 year before it also disappeared. By 1993, the entire performance experiment was over. The engineers moved on to other projects. The 2,995 Syclones that had been built sat in garages and collections across the country, quietly appreciating in value as the years passed and the automotive world slowly remembered what they represented. Today, a clean 1991 GMC Syclone sells for anywhere between $35,000 and $90,000 at auction, depending on condition and mileage, with the rarest low-mileage examples selling for significantly more. The car and driver test result still stands as one of the most surprising performance benchmarks in American automotive history. A production pickup truck built by a division nobody was watching beat Ferrari on a straight track in 1991 and then vanished before anyone could figure out what to do with it. The engineers who built it never got a second shot. GM never revisited the platform. The Shreveport plant went back to building standard trucks for fleet buyers and contractors. And somewhere in a GM engineering facility in Michigan, the original test data from the project that beat Ferrari sits in an archive that almost nobody goes looking for. That is the GMC Syclone. 2 years to build, 1 year on the market. 30 years of people asking why it disappeared. If you enjoyed this video, watch the next one above.